Shalom. Today we're going to talk about the 12 tribes. So I'd like to give big request to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and a big request also to the GMS crew out there in New York and the camps that are all across the US, the Chicago boys, Texas boys, the New York camp, Philadelphia camp, the camps across the UK, South London boys, Dagenham boys, the West Indies, the Benjamite crews out there, the soldier with his two little sons, and all of the rest of the Israelites who are scattered across the four corners of the world. And today we're going to cover who the 12 tribes are and who they are today. Now here we've got a map of Israel. Before we went into the land, it was called Canaan. 12 tribes. And as you can see, the land was divided between the 12 tribes. You have Judah, tribe of Judah down here, lived next door to the tribe of Dan, tribe of Benjamin, Reuben, Gad, Manasseh, Ephraim, Manasseh again, lived on both sides of the River Jordan. It's the River Jordan going down there, it's the River Jordan there. Tribe of Issachar, Zebulun, Naphtali, Asher. Now this is the land that was given to the 12 tribes, the Israelites, by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. This is our homeland, not where we live today, in England, in America, in Australia, Canada, South America, all throughout Europe. This is our homeland. Now we're going to be talking about the people that come from this homeland, who they are today, and who are they back then, so we can actually identify who the true Hebrew Israelites are. Okay, so now we're going to show you, first I want to show you some pictures, and then we're going to go into some scriptures so that we know who we're talking about. Now this is the Bible history as in pictures. Now in here I'm going to show you different pictures of the people that lived back then, because popular to contrary belief, there was very few white people who we know as Edomites who lived back then, and they were just one tribe. Well, they were more than one tribe, but they all descended from Esau, and they're all descendants from the Edomites tribes. Now at that time they were probably the only set of white people living back then, but they wasn't even around until Jacob was born, because that's Jacob's twin. Now as you can see, these are pictures to do with the different kings, Jewish kings that lived back then, and also Assyrian kings, so you can have an idea of who we're looking at here. Now this is Sargon I. He lived about 2400 BC. Now he was one of the kings from the Egyptian Empire. Yeah, one of the first that ruled the Egyptian Empire. So a lot of our history we have to take from what the Egyptians had, because they documented nearly everything and drew pictures of them. Now these are pictures that date back from probably, we're talking probably 3,000 years ago. Now even longer than that, probably 3,500 years ago, because these are pictures of the Egyptians with the Hebrews who were in bondage under them, as you can see there. Now we have more pictures showing you again those that you see. These are the Egyptians and the Hebrew Israelites, as you can see there, as black as tar. They're not these modern day Egyptians that you see today are European Egyptians. These were bred out by Alexander the Great. These are not the original Egyptians. The original Egyptians still live in Egypt. The Nubians, the Sudanese. Those are the original Egyptians. Those Sudan people that you see fighting today over the north and south, those are the original Egyptians. Not those that you see in the land today. Those that you see in the land today are Arabs that come out from the Middle East into Egypt, that come from the Persian Empire, who were taken over by Alexander the Great, and then after him, his 4 generals. And they breed them out over 300, 400, 500 years, and then the Romans took over. So that's why they all got straight hair and light skins. A lot of them even look white, look European, but they are not the Egyptians. These are your Egyptians. They were dark, black like tar, living amongst the Hebrews. The Hebrews were living amongst the Egyptians because we were under bondage with them, as you can see from these pictures. Then you've got these are actual cast models to do with the Egyptians and the Hebrews living under bondage. There we go again. I have to show you these things so you can actually see what's going on, how they've changed. You know, when you watch your these are the Egyptians today again, as you can see, they're all black people. You know, when you're watching things like the Ten Commandments and Moses and Ben-Hur, all these different Roman movies to do with the times of Christ and before Christ, during the Babylonian times, the Syrians, all these people were black. All of them. The Babylonians were black, the wicked Babylonians were black, the Assyrians were black. The Syrians were black as well as the Assyrians. They were all black. The Persians were black as well. All of these people were black. Let me tell you this now, as you can see. And this is an actual Persian king here. As you can see again, more pictures. Now these pictures that I'm showing you here in this book are all pictures that are taken photographs from out of the tombs in Luxor in Egypt. Out of the tombs, and also from the different monuments that were built by the Egyptian pharaohs back then. By Ramesses, by Akhenaten, by all of these pharaohs that lived back then. They all built and drew pictures of the people that they lived amongst, that they enslaved, the wars that they won. They very rarely would show you stuff about the wars that they lost, because like most countries that conquer, they only want to show you their victories. But as you can see, these all come from the tombs and the caves and the buildings that were built over 3,000–4,000 years ago by the Egyptians, showing you who the people were, who they were, and who lived amongst them. There wasn't no white people living amongst them, none at all. As you can see again, we've got the Egyptians and the Hebrews again. Because this history, this is the Bible as a history in pictures, showing you the times that we lived amongst them. Then we have once again here, and this is depicting when it talks about when the Lord spoke to Moses, saying that I have heard the murmurings of the children who have just spoken unto them, saying, at evening ye shall eat flesh. And it came to pass that at that evening the quails came up and covered the camp. So this is during the Exodus. Now this is the picture to do with during the Exodus of the Hebrews. Now I can't see not one white Hebrew there. You can see the quails, those are the birds, and these are all in the Bible. All of these are documented history. This is after they fled Egypt, after the Exodus. This is the Exodus. And this is when the children of Israel were crying out, saying that they'd only been eating bread all this time in the wilderness. And the Most High gave them quails, which was meat to eat, which was birds, as you can see, and it's depicted. These are black people. These are not these white, imposter, Eastern European Khaza Jews that you see in Israel today. Not a single one of those people are Israelites, are Jewish, are from Israel, from the nation of Israel. Not at all. They're all from Eastern Europe, every single one of them. Now as I go again, Now this is a picture depicted telling a story about King David, when King David fought the lion that had taken away one of his sheep when he was out herding his sheep together, and he went and he took the lion from the mouth. He took the sheep from the mouth of the lion, and it tells you the story here as well. Basically, it says the formidable beast, formidable beast of the prey was to be found all over Palestine in the biblical times, not only in the pride of Jordan, as it says in Jeremiah 49:19, but also in Samaria, in Moab, and as David's case in the mountains of Judah. It tells you that, and that's in, you can read Isaiah 15:9, it will tell you that, Kings 17:25, and it tells you about the story. It says, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion, and took a lamb out of the flock, and I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose again against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. And this is a picture depicting what David did. And as you can see, you know, white people have straight hair. These are people with curly hair. You can see their hair, look at their beards, you can see, look at their features. These are black people. These are not white people. King David was a black man, and we'll go into that in the Bible, and we'll prove that to you from the scriptures as well. His son, King Solomon, was a black man. His father, Jesse, David's father, Jesse, was a black man. So, you know, we will go into the Bible and show these things, but I just want to start showing the pictures so you can get an understanding. These are more pictures again showing our people back then. These are the Hebrew Israelites living amongst the Egyptians under bondage. As you can see, the ones doing all the work are the Hebrews, the Israelites, because contrary to popular belief, the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids. Why would you have hundreds of thousands of people enslaved under you, and then you're going to turn around and pay your own Egyptians to do something that the slaves can do for free? The same thing that the Caucasian, the white man, did to us by taking us from the west coast in Africa and bringing us to build up their empires in America, in Australia, and all throughout Europe, is because it was free labor. That was the idea of them enslaving us, because they can get work done for nothing. The white man didn't build Europe. The white man didn't build America. It was the black man and the North American Indians. Because these were the people that were enslaved. And when you enslave somebody, they do your work for you. You don't have a slave in your house sitting around lounging on the settee all day. It doesn't make sense. It's contrary to popular belief that it doesn't make any sense. So when people say the Egyptians built the pyramids, they didn't build them. The Israelites built the pyramids because they were under bondage for 430 years. You're talking about 10 generations. Now, don't get me wrong. The Egyptians would have done some work themselves, but the majority of the work was done by the Hebrew Israelites, because they were the people under the longest bondage under the Egyptians. The Egyptians never had any other nation under bondage for such a long period of time. No other nation. Because most of the times they were always at war with other nations. So if they captured their people and they defeated another army, they would capture them, put them on slavery for probably 10-15 years, and they'd go back to war with those same people, and they'd end up releasing them or killing them. But we were a nation living under a nation. There wasn't a nation of us somewhere else living. We was all living in Egypt before we made our way through the Exodus to the Promised Land. Once again, some more pictures here. As you can see, these are all black people depicted. These are not white people, these are black people, all depicted here. And this is the people, and this is talking about a worker in brass, filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning, to work all works in brass, and to come to King Solomon and wrought all his work. So these are the people that helped build King Solomon's temple. Because remember, King Solomon had different people that had different skills working on all different things. He had the king of Harim, Harim, I can never pronounce his name properly, who provided him with a lot of men who were skilled in brass and gold. And it's showing you here. Once again, I have to show you this because it's very important that we see this. This is a coin from King Jeroboam, and it basically depicts the line of Judah at the top in the middle of it, and this is the money that he had issued, a gold coin, roughly around it. So there 787 BC to 747 BC during his rulership. That was Jeroboam II, who reigned from 787 to 747 BC. And it says above, you see the coin, and it reads Shema, and underneath it says servant of Jeroboam. That's what that says there in Hebrew, servant of Jeroboam. Yeah? Once again, this is showing you, this is the Assyrian king. This is Tiglath-Pileser, who took, this is the guy who took the Israelites into captivity, who took the 10 tribes away. This is him, the king of Assyria. His name was Tiglath-Pileser III, and it comes from his ancient capital of Nimrod. When this terrifying monarch, the real founder of the Assyrian Empire, and he took the throne in 745 BC, and it was the beginning of the end for the monarch of the kingdom of Israel. And it tells you right there, because he was the first one to come away and he took the 10 tribes and the king away into captivity, and only left back Judah and Benjamin and the Levite priests, who all ministered in Jerusalem, because that's where the temple was, and they were in charge of the temple. So that's where they lived. They lived also in villages and different cities around Jerusalem, but the majority of the Levites lived in Jerusalem. And as I showed you before, how the tribes lived. You had the tribe of Judah, who lived next door to the tribe of Benjamin. And then the other 10 tribes were taken away, because at this time, when King Assyria came, the kingdom was split into two. There was no longer one king ruling both kingdoms. That ended after Solomon died, when the kingdom split between his son Rehoboam, Solomon's son Rehoboam, who took the southern kingdom, and the northern kingdom was ruled by, I think it was Jeroboam. The first was the first one to take over the southern kingdom, if I remember. So this is the king here, the Assyrian king, Tiglath-Pileser III, who came and took them into captivity. And like I said, the Assyrians were black people. I don't care what anybody tells you, these people were black people. They were not no straight here Arabs that you see today. That will happen later. As you can see again, I mean, look at this man's beard. This is the king of Assyria. Look at his beard. Curly like hell. Now let me show you. These are more pictures, and these are pictures from the temples that were built. These are pictures that were built. These are showing you two Assyrians. And you remember the Assyrians are the ones who got into captivity. Like I said to you, the majority of people that lived back then were black people. There was very few white people around. And those that were around came from the tribe of Esau, the Edomites. Now, just to show you the difference between me looking at a black person and a white person, because the one thing about the black people, we all had beards. It was a common thing. Only probably the Canaanites didn't really have beard. But all the other tribes that lived around us in the Middle East all had beards, like the Assyrians and that, but probably just Canaanites, just the Egyptians, because the Egyptians are Canaanites, didn't have beards. Now, this is, you know what that is? That's Xerxes the first. He was a Persian king. He was one of the ones that gave that wrote the letter to all the governors throughout his kingdom, because he controlled over 120 kingdoms, which he took from his father Darius. Darius the Great was his father, and Darius took the kingdom from Cyrus the Great. Now Xerxes was the one that gave the letter to Ezra the prophet, for them when they were, well, it started from Cyrus. When Cyrus the Great took over the Babylonian Empire, Cyrus the Great now freed the Jews that were under captivity, because at that time the tribe of Judah and Benjamin and some of the Levite priests were under captivity, what Jeremiah the prophet had told them, in Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar. Now when Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon, he now freed the Jews, because he had a vision from the Lord, and he freed them because their captivity had come to an end. 70 years Jeremiah told them they were going to be under captivity under Nebuchadnezzar, and he had freed them now and gave them a decree for them to be able to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple, which was the second temple, which they called it the second temple. The second time it was built, after Solomon built the first temple, they rebuilt it again because Nebuchadnezzar destroyed it. Now Cyrus and had given, he had sent back the prophets to go back to Israel to teach the people the law again, to get them to praise the Lord, to praise their father, and for them to build a second temple. And after he died, Darius took over, and then you had these governors that were under the rulership of Darius, who didn't like what the Jews were doing, and said, let us back to Darius. And Darius said, let me look into this, because he never heard of this decree. So he searched the archives and found the decree from Cyrus the Great that said, so Darius enforced it, said, yes, these people are free to do what they want, no one should touch them, they should be able to follow their laws, come on to statutes, because their God of Israel is the true God, and that they can continue to build the temple and the wall around Jerusalem, because they were also building the wall again, because the wall was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. And then Xerxes, who you see here, continued that. Xerxes the first continued that decree for them to continue doing that. So that was that after their captivity in Babylon. So I'm just trying to show you that these were black people. Xerxes was a Persian, but they were black, the Persians back then. They weren't these Arab-looking Iranians that you see today, these straight hair, fair skinned Iranians that were bred out by who? I'm going to show you right in a minute who took them over. He's right here. I call him Alexander the Creep. They call him Alexander the Great, but he's Alexander the Creep because he was a homosexual. He was a well-known homosexual. But look at him. You can tell the white man. Look at the white man statue. This is Alexander when he defeated the Persians. Yeah? He was the one that took down the Persian Empire, Alexander, and it tells you about that in the Maccabees Bible. In the Maccabees book, Maccabees 1:1. Alexander had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes. This was about 330 BC, this happened. Now look at him, you can tell the white man, look at his statue, look at his picture. You can tell when you're looking at a white man on a statue or a picture. This is Alexander the Great. Big time homosexual, Vatiman, died at the age of 29. And then you've got here, this is another wicked man. This was probably one of the wickedest of them all. This man was like Nero, but he was before Nero. This is Antiochus Epiphanes. Antiochus, surname Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king. He was the son of Antiochus the king. Antiochus the king was one of Alexander the Great's generals who was given a quarter of his empire. He divided his empire between his 4 generals, each got a quarter each. And this is his son. This is the son of Antiochus the king, who was General Antiochus under Alexander the Great before he died. And this is his son Antiochus Epiphanes. Now, surname Epiphanes. Now, this guy here was one of the wickedest rulers. This guy did some things you couldn't put together against the Jews. He boiled them, he set them alight, he feathered them, tarred them, cut out their tongues, he mutilated them, amputated them. It's kind of the things that you saw a lot of what those wicked Ku Klux Klan and white people did in America during the time of the lynchings after the slavery. It's like they had the spirit of Antiochus Epiphanes in them, because what they did is what he did. They used to castrate you, lynch you, hang you, burn you, skin you, do all these wicked things to you. And this is him here. This is the man in Antiochus. But you can tell the white man. What I'm trying to get is so you can see what he looks like. This is not a black man. This is a white man, which we're quite happy to say that. Because we can tell, look at his features. He's got no lips, he's straight nose. I'm not saying black people ain't got straight nose, but look at this man's feature. You can see this is the white man's feature. Got no beard. Look at his hair. His hair's straight. His hair's not curly. When you saw the pictures of all the other, their hairs was curly. It was done in little curls. And if we go on, we've got here, after him, we've got Tiberius. This is Emperor Tiberius. Right here. He was the guy that was involved in taking down Jerusalem during the siege. This is what caused us to flee into Africa and to some parts of Europe, but mainly into Africa. 90% of us went into Africa. We flew to the west coast of Africa. And this is him here, Tiberius Caesar. He was the ruler, he was a Caesar then. And then you've got a few more before we finish here. You've got Nero. This is another wicked, homosexual, wicked, evil Roman Emperor, Nero. Killed everything that moved, this guy here. He was a torturer. But I'm saying, look at the features of these people. These are the Romans. Yes, the Romans were white. Yes, there were black Romans as well. But the majority of the Romans were white. They were white people. They were from Europe. I'm not saying because they were from Europe they were white, but they were Edomites. They were descendants of Edomites. Alexander the Great was descendants of the Edomites, and so are the Romans. And then you've got Titus. Look at their features again. With his crown on, his nose. These are white people. So this is a book, like I said, it's called the Bible. The Bible as history in pictures. So it will give you the story of the Bible going right through, right up until Christ from the beginning. And you'll see the pictures depicted of the times, of the artifacts that were around back then, what they looked like in people. So it'll give you an understanding if you get hold of this book. Yeah, it's by, I think it's Michael Keller. His name is Keller, K-E-L-L-E-R. Let's see if I can quickly see if it's got his first name in here for you. And then, you know, you should try and get this book because it will help you get you a visual. That's it, Werner Keller. That's his name there. Werner, W-E-R-N-E-R Keller. The Bible as History in Pictures. Werner Keller. Try and get this book. So if you are truly a Hebrew Israelite out there and you want to get an understanding of what these people look like back then, you can get this, because this is going to go through a lot of scriptures in the King James Bible, 1611 version, the one with the book of the Maccabees in it, with the Apocrypha in it, because it will tell you about, this tells you about the Apocrypha in here. So that was our first little thing that we want to go through there so you can get an understanding. Now we're going to quickly go through some scriptures here regarding the colour of the people that lived back in the time. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 4. And this is regarding Moses when he came and faced the pharaohs. Exodus chapter 4 verse 6 and 7. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, Put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, Put thy hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. Now, if Moses was white, and he was going to show the Pharaoh something that Pharaoh had never seen before, that no man had seen before, by changing the colour of his skin in front of him. If he was white, why would he change his skin back to white again? It would make no sense. If I needed to show you a miracle to let you know that my God is the true and only God, and the Most High came to me and said, this is what you need to do, put your hand in your bosom and pull it out, and it's going to turn white as leprous as snow. Why is that? Because I'm black. So my hand turns white as leprous as snow. So he'll see, gosh, his hand is white up to there and the rest of it is black. It's beyond belief. Because Moses was a black man, 100% a black man. Just like we showed you in the pictures of the Bible here, it showed you the people that were under bondage under the Egyptians. They were black people. As a matter of fact, let me go to Exodus chapter 2, verse 19 to 21. Yeah? Okay. Right. Exodus chapter 2, verse 11, so you can get an understanding of what's going on here. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. So when he saw nobody was looking, he licked down the Egyptian with either a stone or a rock or a stick or whatever he used, and killed him, and then buried him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. So Moses had gone out the second day, and the day after he had committed this killing against the Egyptian, who he saw smiting one of his own brethren, because he knew that he was, even though Moses was raised by Egyptians, he always knew that he was a Hebrew. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thy fellow? So these are 2 Hebrews talking to Moses, because remember Moses was raised by the Egyptians, by Pharaoh's daughter. So he's just like an Egyptian, looks like an Egyptian. So two men of Hebrews strove together and said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thy fellow? So they're saying, they're saying to Moses, why did you kill your own Egyptian brother? Now why would they say that to Moses if Moses was not black? If Moses didn't look like an Egyptian, as we all know the Egyptians were dark-skinned people, black people, they were Canaanites. If Moses didn't look like them, why would 2 Hebrews say, why did you smite one of your own brothers? And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. So anyway, so the Pharaoh had heard this thing, and he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of the Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and sat down by the well. Now we're in verse 16 now. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flocks. So some shepherds came to drive away the 7 daughters of the Midianite priest. And Moses defended them and said, Look, what are you doing? These are women. I'm not knowing the exact conversation, but he defended them and drove the shepherds away. This is Moses now helping out the Midianite. This is after he's fled from out of Egypt from the Pharaoh, because he knows that he's heard of what he did to another Egyptian. Anyway, verse 18. We're in chapter 2, verse 18. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, How is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hands of the shepherds, and also drew water
enough for us, and watered the flock. And he said unto his daughters, And where is he? And why is it that ye have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter.
So after what Moses did to save those 7 Midianites from the shepherds harassing them at the water well, not allowing them to get water for their flock and so forth, the daughters came back to their father and said, like, well, how was your day? And then they told their father, so look, we were saved by an Egyptian. So that's again, these are Midianites who were saying they were saved by an Egyptian. And as we know, the Egyptians were black. So if they thought Moses was an Egyptian, he can only have been a black man, 100% black man. So for what Moses did, the father gave the daughter, one of his daughters, to Moses to be wife. And she bare him a son and called his name Gershom. And he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of bondage, and they cried again unto the God by the reason of bondage. So, as we know who Gershom is, he went on to be one of the high priests, one of the high priests to look after the Ark of the Covenant. So, there you go. Moses was taken for a black man twice by strangers, once by the Hebrews, 2 Hebrew men drove them together, and the second time by a group of Midianite women who were saved by him. So that just kills it for me. Okay, so we're going to go to Numbers, chapter 12, verse 10. So we go to the book of Numbers, chapter 12, verse 10. Right. We'll start at chapter 5, so you can get an understanding of what happened. Now we're talking about Miriam. Now this is Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses. Okay, now let me go to we're at chapter 12, we'll start at verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman who he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. Now, we'll just get this clear straight away. Miriam and Aaron, first of all, are Moses' brother and sister. Now, the reason why Miriam spoke against and Aaron spoke against Moses for marrying an Ethiopian woman is because she was Ethiopian. She was not an Israelite. She was from a different nation. Not because she was black, because we've already established that Moses was black, 100% black. It's because she was an Ethiopian, because we weren't meant to marry women from other nations. We had them as concubines, but we weren't meant to marry them. So they didn't like it, but it wasn't their place to speak up against him because he was the head person. Only the Lord could chastise him for that if he felt what he did was wrong. Not his people. Because it wasn't their place to do it, basically. So those that think, oh, because he married a black woman. No, because Moses is black. It's because she was an Ethiopian. She was a Cushite from a different nation. We were Israelites and she was a Cushite. It was as simple as that. And you got to remember, during the Exodus, we had different nations of people that travelled with us, that left with us. We had Egyptians that left with us, and we had Cushites that were under the thumb of the Egyptians that left with us as well during the Exodus. Those who saw it was an opportunity for them to get free of the Egyptians just packed up and went with us. 99% of the people were Hebrews, but you also had remnants of other nations that were under captivity, under the Egyptians, and that saw it as their opportunity to be free, so they went with us. So anyway, so they spoke up against Moses. So now we go down to verse 5, chapter 12, verse 5. And the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam.
and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I the Lord will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in the dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? So this is the most High saying to Miriam and Aaron, Moses is the man. He is the one I'm dealing with, and from him he talked to you. So weren't you guys fearful to speak out against my prophet, my chosen one? This is the Most High telling them, Miriam and Aaron. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. Verse 10. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Now once again, if Miriam was a white woman, why would the Lord turn her leprous, white as snow? Why would he do that? If she was white, he would turn her black. If all the Hebrew Israelites were white, and the Egyptians that travelled with them were white, he would have turned them black to curse them. But he turned them white as leprous as snow, because these were black people. These were people made in the image of the Most High. So that's why he did that. And I will explain to you what leprous is as well, because contrary to popular belief, there are two different types of leprosy. There's one where you are turned like Miriam, as white as snow, where he's removed all your pigmentation from within you, the melanin within you, and left you white like an albino. And then there's the other one where the leprous becomes diseased and you get red boils on your skin, like what you see in those old Roman movies, and your skin will turn and start rotting away. That's the other type of leprous. But this one here, the Lord is dealing with, is when he removes all your pigmentation and he's changing you from black to white. This is what he's doing to Miriam. And this is what Moses did when he showed the Pharaoh. He put his hand in his bosom, white as leprous as snow. And the cloud departed off of the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us wherein we have done foolishly, wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. And the Lord said unto Moses, If her father had the spit in her face, she should not be ashamed 7 days. Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. And afterwards the people removed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness in Paran. So after 7 days God relieved her of her punishment. But during that 7 days she had to live outside the camp, because she was considered a leper. She had now been turned from black to white. And that was Miriam. Now I'm going to explain to you exactly, before we carry on, I'm going to explain to you exactly what leprous as snow is. Okay? So you can have an understanding. This is a book called A Valley of Dry Bones. Yeah, this is a very good book. And I would implore you, my Israelites brothers out there, to have a look at this book. See if they can get hold of it, by Rudolph F. Windsor. He did a lot of good stuff. There are some books, there's some parts in this book which are not based on, I wouldn't say the truth, but more of a misunderstanding. Because these books were written decades ago. And when they were written, there was one or two things in it that were being misinterpreted. But let me explain to you what leprous is, because it is described in this book. It's called the curse of leprosy. There are 3 kinds of leprosies mentioned in the Bible: domestic leprosy, found in the houses; material leprosy, found in the garments; and biological or physical leprosy, contacted by human beings. We are only concerned here with biological leprosy. This is called the curse of leprosy. This is in the book of the Valley of the Dry Book of the Bones, on page 57. Yeah. Right. We are only concerned here with biological leprosy, which is what we were talking about. Biological leprosy is what happened to Moses, is what he did, and is what happened to Miriam. As I mentioned in my first book, From Babylon to Timbuktu, and this is another good book to try and get, From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph F. Windsor. And it will give you a very good explanation of who the Hebrew Israelites are. I actually have the book, but I don't have it with me today. From pages 24-25, the leprosy in variable states in the Bible showed itself when the skin turns red, but mostly white. It is an established fact that the Bible always mentions leprosy in the context of the skin turning white because of a disease or in a relationship to some specific wrongdoing. What we spoke about with Miriam, a specific wrongdoing, speaking up against Moses, her and Aaron. And it's even worse so for a woman than it is for a man. If you don't believe that the ancient Israelites were black after I explained to you about the leprosy plague and curse, then you are either grossly stupid or you don't want to face reality because it disturbs your deep-seated fixed ideas that you don't want to change. Now, this is a writer telling you this, and these are my exact thoughts and feelings when I read the Bible and when I speak to people about this. But this is coming from a well-renowned writer, Rudolph F. Windsor. It is written in the 13th chapter of Leviticus, when a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh, like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of the sons of the priest. And in the 4th verse, if the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, the priest shall shut up him that has the plague 7 days. What happened to Miriam? She was shut up for 7 days. The Lord said she's got to be put out of the camp for 7 days. And after 7 days, the leprosy will be gone and she'd be come back into the camp. Now, this is specifically referring to Leviticus chapter 13 because it tells you exactly the different types of leprosies in it. That's Leviticus chapter 13. So you can also read that up in your own King James Bible yourself. Okay, in the sixth verse we have, and the priest shall look on him again on the 7th day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is but a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. In the 2nd and 4th verses is mentioned a bright spot in the skin. A bright spot means a lighter spot than the regular dark brown skin. The explanation of the 4th verse is this: if the bright spot becomes white or whiter, the leprosy is spreading over the body. So it says there, the explanation of the 4th verse is this: if the bright spot becomes whiter or whiter, then the leprosy is spreading over the body. Remember, Moses was speaking to the Israelites in the wilderness of Sinai as part of Northeast Africa. Moses said in the 6th verse that when the priest shall look on him on the 7th day, and behold, the plague has become somewhat dark or darker, and it did not spread, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, because the skin is getting darker like his regular or original skin. Moses and Aaron in the 38th verse speak of bright spots and white spots. A black man or woman with these white spots covering some part of their body is a partial leper. However, once the plague of the whiteness has covered his entire body, from his head to his feet, like what happened to Miriam, and covered her entire body, the leper is clean. He has completely changed colour like the albino. The albino was once black, but his hair and skin have changed to white, and his eyes are pink. The people who had leprosy in the Bible are classified as albinos, and these albinos are the only white Hebrews that ever existed in ancient times and were in the minority. The Bible never speaks of a white person turning black, but only of a black person turning white. Therefore, we can conclude that the black man was the first on the earth, as we know already. Other places in the Bible where it is mentioned that the various people had turned white are Numbers 12 and 10, Kings 2, 5 and 27, or should I say 2 Kings 5 and 27, and Deuteronomy 28 and 15, and 58 and 61. So it clearly states there, it tells you in the Bible, it says, it talks about leprosy, that it's when the skin turns from black to white. It's white spots that appears. It's not black spots, it's white spots. And then those white spots start to spread and spread and spread and spread and spread, and it turns you white. Leprosy was a condition of being white back then. When Jacob and Esau was born, it tells you what Esau looked like. I mean, I can quickly read that for you in Genesis, so you can have a quick understanding again. Okay, Genesis 26, I think. Right. And Isaac was 40 years. This is Genesis chapter 25, verse 20. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian, of Pandaram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bare them. Now, the reason why Esau is described in the Bible and Jacob is not described what he looks like when he was born, because one, Jacob looked just like his mother and father. He's black. And we already know that 2 black people can have a white child. That is standard. That is no science fiction. We've seen it happen in England and all across the world. It happened recently in England. I think last year an African couple had a white child, and they had previously had 2 black children before that, and this one was a white child. Yeah, not now being about a white child. So it's standard knowledge. Secondly, when a white child is born, he is red. White people ain't white, they are red. You can see their red veins running through their blood. They're red. They say they're white, but they're not white. White is looking like this. No white person is this colour here. Yeah, they're all different shades of red and pink. So this is why Esau describes as that the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. The reason why they say hairy garment, like a hairy garment, is because back then the Hebrews, the Israelites, used to dye ram's goat hair red, and they used to use it to cover the tabernacle and for different things. But they always dyed ram's goat red. So they said he came out red like a hairy garment. The garments that they dye red, that's what he looks like. And they probably used different shades of red that they probably dyed their garment. So, and we all know that when a white child is born, especially after that pressure coming out of his mum's stomach, he's as red as a beetroot. The blood is all running through everywhere, he's red everywhere, he's completely red. So, for those who don't know, for those who do know, Esau is the progenitor of the white race. This is their beginning here, Jacob's twin. Esau is our twin. He's our twin brother. He was a Hebrew, but he's not an Israelite. And he is our twin brother today, the Edomites. And he's our wicked twin. But I won't go into the whole story on that, but I just want to get an understanding that this is where, this was the first white child to be born after the flood. And this is him here. This is their forefather. Esau, the forefather of Alexandria, the Romans, the Greeks, the Eastern Europeans. He's their forefather, Esau. So we'll get a few other scriptures here while we're here. We've got here okay, we'll go to Amos chapter 9 verse 7. Yeah, Amos, Old Testament, Amos the prophet. I love Amos, very, very good. I tell the people, you've got to read your Bible. For all that I'm telling you, you've got to read the Bible, because you'll have a true understanding of what's going on here. Amos chapter 9 verse 7. Now this is the Lord, the Most High, talking to the Hebrew Israelites. Yeah, Amos was a prophet that lived around the time of Jeroboam and Amaziah. Yeah, Jeroboam was one of the Israelite kings. Now this is the Most High The Most High, this is the Father speaking to the Israelites. Amos chapter 9 verse 7. Are ye not as the children of Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Captor, and the Syrians from Ker? Now if the Most High is saying to the children of Israel, are ye not as the children of Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel?
Now we all know who the Ethiopians are. The Ethiopians are the Cushites. The Ethiopians are black like tar, they're black people. Now if the Most High is comparing the children of Israel, the Israelites, to the Ethiopians, there can only be one reason. It's because they look the same. That's the only reason. Because the Ethiopians are heathens. Yeah, the Ethiopians, the Cushites, were the Babylonians. So we are not the same in who we worship, in our practices, what we do, how we live our lives, the God that we worship. We worship the one and only true God, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. They worship idols. So when the Most High is comparing you to the Ethiopians, it's because you look just like them. They look just like you. They're black people with black features. They're not white. Ethiopians are not white. They're black people. We'll go to another one for you. Job 30 and 30. Job is another one I like. Job chapter 30 verse 30. Now this is Job speaking. Yeah? Chapter 30 verse 30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burnt with heat. Now, why would he say that? My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burnt with heat. His skin is black upon him because he's a black man. And my bones are are burned with heat. It's because they were living under a famine. So, how can Job be white? And Job was an Israelite, very close to the Most High's heart, who lost everything because the Most High used Satan to test him. And after 3 years of suffering, he got everything back 100-fold. Well, this is Job. Job says, my skin is black upon me. My skin is white upon me. I would say it, my skin is white upon me. But my skin is black upon me. And my bones are burned with heat. Because he was suffering back then. Suffering. True to what the Most High had let Satan do to him to test him. He lost his wife, his kids, his farm, his riches. He was riddled with diseases. But he still kept faith in the Lord. Lamentations chapter 5 verse 10. Lamentations chapter 5 verse 10. Lamentations is of Jeremiah. Where are you? Oh, getting the wrong way. Chapter 5 verse 10. Lamentations chapter 5 verse 10. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. They ravaged the women of Zion and the maidens in the cities of Judah. So this is Lamentations. Yeah? And this is something that Jeremiah the prophet spoke about. It says our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Our skin is black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Now, famine makes, we've all seen it when they love to show pictures of the starving children in Africa. You see what famine does to them. Famine makes you even darker.
Right? A white person can't get dark from famine. He'll get paler. A black person gets darker from famine. So when Jeremiah says that, he says, our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Because these people, the Israelites, were getting even darker and darker because of the terrible famine. It gives an adverse effect to your skin colour. For the white, they get more paler. For the black, they get more darker. It's Lamentations. Jeremiah, we'll go to Jeremiah 14, chapter 2. Jeremiah 14, chapter 2. Right, this is Jeremiah chapter 14. We'll start at verse 1. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth. Yeah? Now, this is Jeremiah, one of the great prophets of the Lord. Yeah? Verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof language. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Now, let me ask you something. This is Jeremiah the prophet talking about the Israelites during their tribulations. This is a prophet that prophesied and told them about their going to captivity under the Babylonians, under Nebuchadnezzar. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof language. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. He's saying that the Israelites are mourning. At the gates they languish. So we can see them, they're in pain and suffering. Those that are at the gates, those that have been taken into captivity, those that are in captivity. And it says they are black unto the ground. Now, if they were white, he would say they were white like the snow, this is that. But he said they're black unto the ground. Because they were going through so much suffering again, and they had famine going on there, it made them even darker.